are ratios? Ratios, I put the definition over here above my head in blue. Ratios are the comparison between two amounts. That's basically it. The comparison between two amounts. Now these two amounts can be in the same unit of measure. They can be both in feet, for example, something that's measured in feet compared to something else that's measured in feet. Or it can be the comparison between something measured in inches, also compared with another amount that is measured in inches. The same unit. Or they can be of different units. You can have, for example, something that's measured in hours compared to something that's measured in seconds. Or something that's measured in hours compared to something that's measured in money. Okay, like money, right? So it's just a comparison between two things. And those two things can be the same units, or they can be of different units. It doesn't matter. Now, the thing to remember about, well, hang on, once I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. There's three ways to express ratios. They can be expressed, that's what these little numbers over here mean, okay? The three different ways they can be expressed. So the first one is obviously in written form. The ratio can be in a problem, right? Written down in words and sentences. The second way, and this is really the big one for us, this is how we're going to work with ratios, is it can be expressed in the form of a fraction, where we put the first amount that the question asks in the numerator and the second amount that the question asks for in the denominator. And then we're going to do that over here, okay? And the third amount is with the colon. Okay, with the colon, the two dots, right? Where we put the first amount that they asked for at the left and the second amount on the right side, okay? And we'll also express it like that so you can see all three. The first one's already written down. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll read it so you don't have to struggle with my handwriting. It says, a painter mixes 8 quarts of white paint and 4 quarts of blue paint. There's our information. Now the question, and this is where we need to pay attention because that's where that's what we have to answer. The question is right here. What is the ratio of white paint to blue paint? Okay. What is the ratio of white paint to blue paint? Now the question asks for information in a particular order. It asks for white paint first. So how many quarts of white paint do we have? We have 8. So that first amount, that's what they asked us for first. So that's what we have to put down first. Okay? And we'll do the 2-dot one here in a minute. Okay, so then the second amount that they asked for in the question was blue paint. So how many quarts of blue paint? It was 4, right? Okay. So we have this ratio of 8 to 4. Okay? This ratio of 8 to 4. All right. Because it's in a fraction form, don't be fooled. It's not a fraction. It's a ratio. Okay? But like a fraction, we can actually reduce this. So I'm going to reduce both of them by 4 to get to the lowest term in one step. Remember, even numbers you can divide by 2, and then you'd have to divide by 2 again to get to the final, the lowest term. But anyway, divide by 4, we get 2 over 1. Okay? Now, if this was a fraction, if this was a normal fraction problem, where you have to make sure your final answer, you've seen the videos, I'm sure, with the little 2 boxes, proper and in lowest terms, it's not the same with ratios. Normally, I would say this is an improper fraction, and I can't leave it like that. I need to convert it to a mixed number or a whole number, and this would be a whole number, right? You just do the division. 2 divided by 1, 2, right? So we would get 2. But remember, I can't. That's not my answer. Why? It's because I'm working with ratios, and so what is a ratio? It's up here. A ratio is the comparison between two amounts. If I say my final answer is 2, what happened to the other amount? What am I comparing here? We lose the ratio. So we don't do that. Okay, we don't we leave it like that in an improper form. Now, I mean, this example, this one came out improper. But they could have asked us, what's the ratio of blue paint to white paint? And then the 1 would have been on top and the 2 would have been on the bottom, and it would have been like 1/2. Okay, so again, it's just a matter of what they're asking for and in the order that they ask us, okay? But this one that's improper, we leave it alone. Because if I convert it, I lose the ratio. I lose that comparison between two things. Okay, so I need to keep the 2 and the 1. Now this ratio has a specific name. When we have a 1 in the denominator, it has a specific name, this kind of ratio. It's called a unit rate. Okay. Now the unit rate is common. We see it all the time. You know, like how much do you get paid? You know, I get paid $10 for 1 hour of work. So that would be 10 on the numerator, 1 in the bottom for the hour. We're comparing dollars to time. Okay, that's what we're comparing in that kind of thing. Another common one that would be a unit rate is speed limits, right? We have like 35 miles per hour, and that's a ratio. You know, they'll fine us if we change that ratio too much, right? If we start going double that in the same amount of time. So anyway, but those are called unit rates. This would be an example of a unit rate. Okay. Now, not all ratios will be like that. Like I said before, it could have been 1/2, and that's just a 1/2 ratio. Okay, it doesn't. Okay. So anyway, all right. Now our answer here with the 2 dots would also be 2 to 1, where we put the first thing they asked for on the left side, and the second thing they asked for on the right side. Okay. So just a quick review, just a quick recap, and and we'll have another example. Okay, so what we did first, we read the question, and we have to understand that we put the information in the same way that they ask us. So for the problem, the question right here, white paint to blue paint, they asked for white first. So I put that information in the numerator first. Then they asked us for blue paint, the second amount, and that was going to be 4. It was 4 quarts of blue paint. We reduce it like a fraction, but we leave it like that in a fraction. We leave it improper. We need to leave it like that because remember, it's a comparison between 2 amounts. And if I did the 2 divided by 1, get 2, I lose the ratio. So remember, just leave it improper. That's fine. This is the only time you can do that with fractions. Okay, leave that alone. Leave it the comparison between two amounts. And then you can also express it like this. Okay. So let's take a look at another problem. Okay, so I put another example up on the board. Now, this one says, the Bears won 30 games and lost 6 games. The question, and this is where we need to pay most attention, is what is the ratio of games lost to games played? So I'm going to go ahead and start with a fraction, because I like to work with these in a fraction form, okay? So there's my fraction bar, right? Now, what did they ask for first? Games lost. They want to know how many were lost. So I go into my information and I look for the number of lost games, and it's right here. It's 6. They lost 6 games. Now, what was the second thing that was asked? The games played. Okay? So this was the first, right? Games lost. That was the first thing they asked for. And this is the second thing that they asked for. So how many games did they play? Now be careful, it's not 30. It's actually 36, right? Okay, because they lost 6 and they won 30, so that means that they played 36 games. All right, so then I look to see if this can be reduced, this ratio can be reduced to a lower form, and yeah, it can. So remember that reduction is a division. So we divide by 6, both of them. And then I get 1/6, okay? And that's it. I can't make it any smaller. It is not a unit rate, right? There's not a 1 on the bottom. It's just like that. It's cool. So basically what this says, for every game that they lost, they played 6 games. Or you could say for every 6 games they played, they won, or they lost 1, okay? And just so I can put it in the other form with the colon, the 2 dots, it would also be looking like this, 1 to 6, okay? 1 to 6. All right, so good luck.